From Florida, the Chairman Díaz-Balart is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. My voice is a little bit gone. I hope it'll last throughout this presentation. Mr. Chairman and the Ranking Member McGovern and the members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify on the fiscal year 2025 Department of State Foreign Operations and Related Programs Appropriations Bill. The bill before us today will allow us to build on the important changes that the House Republicans fought to secure in the fiscal year 24 bill signed into law, frankly, just a few months ago. This starts with further reductions to the top line. The State Foreign Operations Bill before you represents an 11% cut from fiscal year 2024 enacted. That bill, by the way, was a 6% cut from the year before. Now, you've heard it already that some will say that cuts of that magnitude will jeopardize the United States leadership in the world and make us less safe. I completely disagree. In fact, it's just the opposite, Mr. Chairman. The priorities in this bill are really simple and straightforward. If you are a friend or an ally of the United States, this bill supports you. But if you are an adversary or are cozying up to our adversaries, then frankly, you're just not going to like this bill. The bill eliminates controversial or ineffective programs that American taxpayers do not support, and that frankly, even our allies and partners don't support either. Yet, even with such a top-line reduction, the bill fully funds the U.S.-Israel Memorandum of Understanding, increasing funding to counter Communist China, even above the President's request, and continues critical security assistance to Taiwan and other allies and partners. But let me tell you what this bill does not fund, Mr. Chairman. So despite the Biden administration's request, this bill will not fund organizations that employ terrorists, like UNRWA, provide a platform or that provide a platform on the global stage to the worst human rights abusers, like the UN Human Rights Council, or take bogus legal actions against Israel as it fights for its very existence, like the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice, or that cower to Communist China and deny Taiwan even observer status, like the World Health Organization. Bill does not pay other countries for their climate reparations, like the Loss and Damage Fund, for example, or this bill does not fund groups that promote and mobilize migration caravans to the United States southern border, like many of the organizations that do so today. So again, thanks to this administration, we have this open border, and we should not be paying to help facilitate illegal migration. Now, I'd like to take a moment to address the United Nations. It's obviously a big deal. This bill acknowledges, frankly, the mockery that is the UN and zeroes out the UN regular budget. Let's be clear. The hypocrisy and the moral decay at the UN has only gotten worse, and it reared its ugly head. It does, frankly, rear its ugly head time and time again with repeated and brazen anti-Semitic attacks against Israel. That is why this bill building on a key win from the fiscal year 24 law and adds new conditions on anti-Semitism and anti-Israel bias throughout the United Nations and other international organizations. You see, the taxpayers will not be on the hook for this unacceptable behavior. The bill continues to prioritize countering the Chinese Communist Party and their malign and destabilizing actions around the world, providing $2.1 billion, which is above the President's request, as I mentioned, for that. It also provides $500 million in foreign military assistance for Taiwan's security needs, Mr. Chairman, and prioritize funding for other partners in the Indo-Pacific, including the Philippines and the Pacific Island countries. Now let me turn to our Western Hemisphere, which is another priority in this bill impacting all Americans. Funding will combat the trafficking of opioids and in particular fentanyl. The bill also holds accountable governments failing to cooperate on counter-narcotics and other issues of critical importance to the United States. For example, no funds, not $1, go to Mexico until a certification is made that an agreement is in place to restore water deliveries owed, I repeat, to the United States from Mexico. This bill reins in wasteful and boondoggle spending on dubious climate change objectives, including prohibiting funds for the Green Climate Fund and the Clean Technology Fund. The bill prioritizes key functions of the State Department, like safety and security of our diplomats and our embassies abroad, while slashing wasteful bureaucracy across the department. Nobody can tell me that there isn't wasteful bureaucracy across that department. In particular, the bill eliminates funding for special envoys and special representatives that are not authorized in law or not state-confirmed. Again, if they are that important, then let's just have them authorized or have them Senate confirmed. Is that too much to ask? And finally, just as important, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Ranking Member, this bill includes all longstanding pro-life protections, which includes a prohibition on all taxpayer funds from being used to pay for abortion, and builds on those requirements by applying the Protecting Life of Global Health Assistance policy to all global health funding. So again, it promotes American values by continuing important funding for democracy, increasing funding for religious freedom programs abroad, supporting faith-based organizations that are helping to deliver the United States foreign policy assistance, and eliminating programs that use taxpayer dollars for, frankly, controversial agendas. So, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member, again, thank you for holding this hearing, and I look forward to your questions. I yield back.
Thank you. Appreciate your testimony.